Back to the Parsha. We're going to start from beginning. Here we've got here an interesting Parsha. First of all, because of the fact that this Parsha is actually the last Parsha in Chumash Bamidbar. In Chumash Vayikra. And when we come to this Parsha, we announce Chazak, Chazak, Venit Chazek. We want to go from strength to strength in learning Torah. And this Parsha speaks about the advantage and the importance of learning Torah. Right in the beginning of the Parsha, Im Bechukotai telechu ves mitzvosai tishmeru v'asisem oisam, which means that if you shall follow my laws and my mitzvot, then I will grant you with rain and with crops from the land, etc. And this is basically the idea of Im Bechukotai telechu, if you shall follow my laws. Rashi explains that my laws refer to the Torah, because right after that it speaks about the mitzvot. So Chukotai, my laws, that refers to the Torah. And this Parsha is also very special. It's not a long Parsha, but the context and the content of the Parsha is very special, because it also speaks about the ultimate redemption. It speaks about the Geula. It speaks about the times where basically Hashem will bring us back close to Him, and it's very interesting for various reasons. First of all, it says in our Parsha, "V'zacharti es brisi Yaakov v'af es brisi Yitzchak v'af es brisi Abraham ezkor." And this shows us the way that the exile will end. It also says, "V'hisvadu es avaynam," Am Yisrael will confess their sins. Az yikana levavam ha'arel v'az yirtzu es avaynam v'zacharti es brisi. That's the context of that pasuk. So here we've got a clear reference to the idea of doing tshuva, to the idea of returning to Hashem, and to the idea of Hashem remembering us, and especially remembering our forefathers. And this is an interesting point here, because speaking about the ways of returning to Hashem, so there are two main ways to approach the concept of tshuva, and how will we return to Hashem when the times of Mashiach will come. So Rashi explains, and this is something that's brought in several places, is that Am Yisrael will go through a period of suffering. And their suffering, that will basically purify them, and not only purify, but that the suffering will make up for all the sins that they have done. And this is something that's also brought in reference to the war of Gog and Magog, the famous war that will happen right before Mashiach will come. One of the reasons to this war is that Am Yisrael has to go through a period of suffering. And this is again in order to purify them, in order to bring them to a stage where they will be able to actually accept Hashem and accept the Geula. So basically, this is one approach. And then we have another approach. The other approach is more close to the Midrashim. The Midrashim are the tales that our scholars brought, and especially in the Torat Kohanim, which is the Medrash on Parshas Vayikra, that Medrash says that, you know what, we aren't referring to suffering. We are referring to tshuva, and as the famous quote of our scholars that the Rebbe used to speak about, that as soon as Am Yisrael do tshuva, miyad hey nigalin, immediately they are redeemed. So that's their approach. And here, once again, Hashem will make sure that Am Yisrael will do tshuva, and in that way they will receive the ultimate redemption. So this is one point where basically we can see the Geula in our Parsha. Now, the story of the Geula leads. That is a big argument between the Maimonides and the Raavad. The Maimonides and the Raavad were two great Talmidei Chachamim. They were two great scholars, but they were competitors, and they used to argue a lot. They used to disagree a lot. The Maimonides was younger compared to the Raavad, Rabbi Avraham Ben David. And that's who the Raavad was, and he used to write his arguments on the Rambam, and they both argue whether in the world to come, when Mashiach will come, what will change in the world? And we always think about this and we say, we are waiting for thousands and thousands of years for the coming of Mashiach. What does that mean? What is the coming of Mashiach? What is the coming of Mashiach? What will happen then? Will things change? Will we continue living as we live today? So this is something that Hasidus has a lot to say about, but not only Hasidus, also there's an argument between these two giants, the Maimonides, the Rambam, and the Raavad, who is Rabbi Avraham Ben David, who was a bit older than the Rambam. And the point is, what Hasidus speaks about is that if we take the word Geula and we take the word Gola, which means Geula is redemption, Gola is exile. Galut, Gola. So we'll notice something very interesting. There is no difference between the two words, but there's one letter that is in the word Geula and does not exist in the word Gola. And that's the Aleph. Redemption is Geula. Redemption includes the Aleph. Gola, which is exile, does not include the letter Aleph. Why? What is the letter Aleph? The letter Aleph refers to Hashem himself. The letter Aleph refers to the light that will be in the world while Moshiach will come. We will feel closer to Hashem. We will feel the Aleph. That is the difference. Nothing is going to change around us. We are going to be surrounded with the same world. But nothing really will change. And this is what Hasidus says. But this is connected to the argument of the Rambam. We all know about the Midrash when Mashiach will come. And the changes will be that a lion won't want to hunt an antelope, for example. And it says it in the Pasuk, V'gar ze'ev in keves. A wolf will live together with a sheep. So here we see that the nature of the world is going to change. Not only that, there are certain midrashim that tell us that all of the trees will bear fruit, which means even the trees that today cannot bear fruit, and there are many of them, when Mashiach will come, they will suddenly bear fruit as well. By the way, the reason to these midrashim is simple, because in the times of Mashiach, we are basically going back to the times of the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden, when Adam and Eve were there, it was a perfect world, and it was a perfect place. And this is basically the medrash that tells us that the fruit will be on all kinds of trees, is because of the fact that the world will return to its starting point. At the starting point of the world, it was a perfect utopic world. The lions were peaceful with the sheep, and besides that, it was a perfect world. Trees bared fruit, all kinds of trees. And this is basically what's going to happen in the world to come. These are the midrashim. Also, there are certain midrashim that ma'adanim metzuyim ka'afar, which means that this is for the kids also, that there will be all kinds of, what would be the exact word for ma'adanim? It's not really candies, but it's that there'll be a lot of plentiness in the world, and we'll have whatever we'll need. That is the point. And so here we've got these simple and psukim and stories and tales from the midrashim of Chazal, that they tell us that in the world to come, in Mashiach's days, we'll have something that we did not experience, and the world will change around us. Nevertheless, the Maimonides says, you know what? There's not going to be any difference. The only difference will be one thing, is that the Gentiles around us, Chasidei Umot HaOlam around us, they will live peacefully with Jews. Because until this very day, we suffer from them quite a lot. We suffer from them a lot. We suffer from the fact that they, throughout centuries, they always chased Jews, they always hated Jews, they always looked for ways to cause problems. And in the days of Mashiach, the Rambam says, no, they won't do these problems anymore, and that's why we can feel peaceful and calm. And here's one other point that the Raavad says that of course the world is going to change. So what's going on here? How on the one hand the Rambam, the Maimonides, says there's not going to be any difference in the world. The only difference would be that Gentiles won't bother us anymore. On the other hand, the Raavad says no, the world is going to change completely. Here's one other thing that the Rambam puts a big emphasis on, and this is the concept of Tchias HaMesim. The dead people will return. They will wake up. All of the people that we knew or that we've heard of that lived in the past and don't live now with us, they will return. They will return in the world to come. And the Rambam speaks highly of the importance of the belief in this principle of Tchiyat HaMeitim, the rising of the dead. And this is clearly something that isn't part of the world's nature. There's no such a thing that people that passed away return. It happened in history only by miracle, very few times. But otherwise, people that pass away, they stay there. And the Rambam himself agrees that this is something that's going to happen throughout the generations. That in the world to come, when Mashiach will come, we'll have Tchiyat HaMetim. And this is why the Rebbe explains that there are two periods in the coming of Mashiach. And this is a very important lesson, because we right today, so we can expect two separate timelines, two separate periods in the coming of Mashiach. The first period of the coming of Mashiach will be Mashiach coming down to the world and making peace between the Gentiles and Am Yisrael, making sure that the Gentiles won't bother Am Yisrael anymore. And in that case, there'll be peace in the world. There won't be any use for any weapons. And as it says in the Pasuk, V'chitetuchar botam leitim, they will take their swords and they would make it into tools for the land, and they won't use it for killing and for destruction anymore. They use it to build and to plant and to grow for the benefit of the world. So that's the first period, and this is what the Rambam refers to. He'll say there won't be any changes. It's not Mashiach will come today, but it's not that the dead will come to us and they'll arise. No, not yet. That belongs to the second period of Mashiach, where actually we'll feel the existence of Hashem more and more and in a deeper way, until the point where the world will return to its starting point. The world will return to its starting point with the dead rising, with trees bearing fruit, with animals living peacefully, because the nature of the world will also change. The nature of the world will change in that way that everything around us will be different. Not as we are used to now, but it will be much different. And here we come to another interesting concept that is brought in our Parsha. And this is also brought not only in terms of the times of Mashiach, but it's something that we can practice today. And this is the beginning of the Parsha we spoke about in Bechukotai telechu, if you will follow my laws. And that refers to learning the Torah, and not only learning the Torah, but actually working hard learning it, putting in a lot of effort, a lot of energy in the studying of the Torah. And as we know that this is something that's occasionally needed, that in order to understand certain concepts in the Torah, you've got to work very hard. It just can't enter your ear. You've got to use your mind. You've got to think about it. You've got to understand it. And Hashem says, if you'll do that and you'll follow my mitzvot, so I will reward you with lots of physical and material rewards. When asati gishmechem beitam, you'll have plenty of rain. When asnaharet yevula, be'etz asada yiten piriyai, there'll be like whatever will grow from the ground will grow in a good way. I will bring peace to the land, and many more physical and material promises from Hashem as a reward to our spiritual connection. And here the question is, well, why is it so important for the Torah to reward us with these physical and material rewards? Shouldn't Hashem reward us with spiritual rewards, such as seeing miracles, witnessing Hashem, being able to come closer to Him, being able to bring offerings to Him, being able to invest our time in studying Torah? And not only that, but also we just spoke about the miracles that will happen when Mashiach will come, right? So this is basically after our work, thousands of years we worked in this world. And after these thousands of years, what Hashem is giving us is fruit on the trees or candies all around. Why is that so important? And another thing is that the sheep and the lions will get on very well. Okay, that's a great thing, but why is that part of the reward of the coming of Mashiach? By the way, the Maimonides himself says, and this is a big argument between the Nachmanides and the Maimonides, whether the ultimate world will be a physical and material world or a spiritual world. The Rambam says that after the dead will arise, after they will come and return to us, after several years, everyone will die. And we'll all move to a spiritual world. Very interesting, all these details. And the Nachmanides says no. The Nachmanides says, you know what? The world is going to stay as is. We are here for infinity. And we are going to stay in this material world. People will be able to live forever in this physical and material world. And if we look about it, Hasidus goes only with the Nachmanides. Hasidus says that the Nachmanides is 100% right, and it's going to be a physical world and a material world. Oh, great, we're very happy to hear that. But why is that so? We would expect that an ultimate reward would be something spiritual, something elevated. Who wants to really stay in a physical world where we've got to eat, where we've got all these physical needs, where we've got a connection to materialism? An express to holiness was always spirituality, disconnecting from materialism. When Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Mount Sinai to receive the Torah, and we are just about to approach it now on Chag HaShavuot. So when Moshe Rabbeinu, basically, when he went up to Mount Sinai, he did not eat for 40 days. He did not drink for 40 days and 40 nights. Why? Because when you enter a spiritual level, a high spiritual level, what you basically are doing is you are disconnecting yourself from the material world. You connect yourself to Hashem. So here the question is, why are the promises in our Parsha for serving Hashem appropriately? Why are they material promises? And why in the world to come, when Mashiach will come, we speak about these physical and material rewards? So the truth is, and this is the important lesson that Hasidus tells us and teaches us, is that the material world is also a purpose, which means that our work here in the world is to elevate the world, and not only in a way where we stay away from materialism, but we are actually connected and we use the material part of the world in order to elevate it. And not only that, but why is it in that way? Because we want to show the power of Hashem. We want to show how Hashem is truly undefined and unlimited, and he can even belong and be connected to something material and physical. This is the greatness, the true greatness of Hashem, where Hashem is not only high and spiritual and disconnected, but Hashem actually can be connected to the material and physical world. And that is our job, elevating the world. That's what we do when we basically use the world in the right way. So when Mashiach will come, what will basically happen is that the world will be another vessel and another tool to serve Hashem and also to show the greatness of Hashem. Today, unfortunately, materialism can seem a bit against Hashem because it's hard to be material and to connect to something spiritual. But in the world to come, when Mashiach will come, that won't bother us anymore. people will use materialism in order to serve Hashem, and in a revealed way. So, Be'ezrat Hashem, we should merit this. We should have this chus, coming of Mashiach, right this day. Shavua Tov.